Hello, I'm Big Jim with Big Jim's Bow Company, and I'm here today to try to help you out a little bit with shaft selection for your bow. It tends to be a great mystery for a lot of people, even if they've been in this for quite a while. Moving from wood arrows or aluminum arrows to carbon arrows, and we specialize in carbon arrows. I've got knowledge of the others a little bit as well, or quite a bit as well on some of them. But anyway, I'm going to make an attempt to try to help you out with this. I'm not going to give you any specific numbers because there's way too many questions that have to be asked in order to determine that. There's several spines in carbon arrows, and in order to get the right one for you, you have to start off in the right spine. Now, for some people, you might be able to use a spine lower or one a little, the next spine higher if you're close to that particular number. But in order to adjust for that, you may have to use a full-length shaft, which is weaker, or in that same spine by cutting the shaft a little bit at a time to make it stiffer. You can also fine-tune by changing your point weight. But the things that greatly impact which spine you're going to need is your actual shot weight, and that cannot be determined without knowing fairly accurately what your draw length is. We've got a draw length video out there to help you try to determine what that is. So if you know your actual draw length, have a little bit of bow information, getting in touch with a traditional archery expert will help you out the most. It'll keep you from making expensive mistakes. And some of the reasons behind that, say you do know your real draw length, and you're confident that your bow is accurately marked. Do you know if your bow is cut to center, cut past center, how much past center, or it's not even cut to center? All those things affect which spine you may need or how you may need to cut your arrow. There are arrow charts out there that can be somewhat helpful, but they are only as good as the information you put in there. If your draw length is a ½ inch or an inch off, then the information you're putting in there is not going to line up with the suggested arrows. They tend to suggest arrows that are a little on the stiff side, and when you're all said and done, the arrows are fletch and you're shooting with a field tip, even the wrong spine arrow can appear as though it's flying pretty well. You can prove that not to be the case by noise in the bow, arrows contacting the bow going forward, or a poorly flying broadhead. The fletched arrow with a broadhead on it. So all these things, stick and string is thought to be just grip it and rip it, grab it, it's nothing to it, don't make it so difficult. It's not quite that. You can make it easy by knowing some of this information. You don't have to spend a lot of time figuring it out after that point, every time you want to change bows around and whatnot. Or just not caring how accurate you are and how consistent your arrow flight is and whatnot. But picking the right spine is not rocket science, but again, you have to have accurate information in order to do so. With just about every bowyer out there, the recommended minimum bow weight or arrow weight is 8 grains per pound. That means total 8 grains of arrow weight per pound of shot bow weight. If you've got a 50-pound bow at 28 inches and you draw it to 28 inches, it's 50 pounds times 8 is 400. Minimum weight for your arrow is 400. Almost everybody that I know that builds bows would much rather see you shoot something in the 9 grain or 10 grain per pound, or 11 or 12 or whatever makes you happy, as long as you're not doing damage to the bow. Under 8 grains, will it damage a bow right off the bat? It's unlikely. I know people tell me all the time, well, I've been doing it for, I've shot that bow for a year and it didn't blow up. Not every bow is going to blow up because you make the mistake of shooting arrows that are too light. So dry firing, it may not damage the bow right then and there, but over time it can do catastrophic damage to it. The bow may, blow the bow up on you while you're shooting. You're like, what happened? I just did this, but you're not taking into account the hundreds or thousands of, or even just dozens of arrows you shot previous to that was doing damage with every shot. The heavier the arrow, the lighter the bow is going to be. Just by adding 1 or 2 grains per pound is not going to sacrifice that much speed. Traditional bows aren't really about speed anyway, but we don't want to leave speed on the table if we can help it. Personally, I like to shoot roughly 10 grains per pound, plus or minus a little bit, wherever it ends up at in that area where I get my best flight. I'm not going to nitpick around and make major adjustments on a great flying arrow. just because it's a hair light or a hair heavy. If you're a wood arrow shooter and you like that type of mass weight, you'd be looking at generally more around 11 or maybe even 12 grains per pound. For a hunter, you may get a little bit more penetration with that. I mean, this is not really that's true, and it's a great thing, and I would advocate that, but that's not necessarily what it's about. It's about longevity of your bow and nice flying arrows. If you're a target archer, you may want to err towards the lighter weight side, 9 grains per pound, plus or minus a little bit. But I actually shoot both. I'm very competitive, so if I'm shooting targets, I'm trying to do the best I can. But I shoot the same setup that I would take out hunting. I don't make any changes whatsoever. I'm always looking at the same arrow flight, the same cast, the same arc. It seems to work good for me. Anyway, I hope that helped you. If you have any questions, you can email us at bigjimsbows@gmail.com. You can find that on our website at bigjimsbowcompany.com or see us on any of the typical social media platforms. Thank you very much.